Hi, my name is Manipam. In this video, I will show you how to test the API calls to Trellix using Postman. Here's how to prepare for testing API calls to Trellix. First, you need to download and install Postman. Postman is a standalone software that allows you to build, test, design, modify, and document APIs. After Postman is installed, open it up and click on File, then select Settings, and turn off SSL certificate verification, then close settings. Now you're ready to import a file called trellixlighting.json. So click on the import button here, choose the file, click on open. Then click on the import button again to finish. Please note that you can obtain this file by contacting Cooper Lighting technical support team. As you can see here, there are a lot of API calls available. And if you want to learn more about what each API call can do, you can check Trellix Lighting API reference online. So if you're on the Cooper Lighting website, under Trellix API, you should see that API reference instruction under the installation instruction here. Open the file. And if you go to table of content, you should be able to see all the different calls that is available. If you click on any one of them, it's going to bring you to where that call is and give you a full explanation of what it can do for you. Next, we need to create an environment for the Trellix server on Postman. An environment contains all the important variables required in making API calls to Trellix. To create an environment, just click on this icon here. Click on the Add button. The first variable that you need to enter is IP.address. This is the only variable that you will need to change for each project because the IP address for Trellix server will be different from one job site to another. So you just need to enter the IP address of the Trellix server in the initial value field. And the next variable name would be public token. Notice that it is case sensitive. And the next variable is refresh token. And the last one is DR access. You can leave the initial value field here as blank because their values will be automatically updated by a code in the trellixlighting.json file each time that you make an API request to Trellix. After you finish entering all these variables, you have to name this environment and then make sure to click on the Save button. Now you have to select it in that environment that you just created. So in the list here, make sure you select Trellix server. To start a Trellix Lighting API session, you need to send an API call login token to generate an access token, which is required in order to use any other API request. So this is the call that I was talking about. Before clicking on the send button, one thing that you need to make sure is the username is public, and the password is by default will be capital B, capital X, capital L, lowercase I and X, exclamation mark 7. Here in my setup, I have made the changes to 71, but on a fresh server, it would be 7, not 71. The other thing you need to make sure authorization type is bearer token, as you can see, okay? Then click on the send button. So when the login token call is sent successfully, you will see 200 OK here as a standard response. And access to Trellix will be granted using these access token. Access to Trellix will be given for up to 120 minutes, as it is shown here in second, 3199 second. When the 2 hours maximum has been reached, the access token will be revoked and access to Trelix Lighting will be denied until a new get public login token call is made. So how do you avoid deny access to Trelix Lighting API? To avoid being denied access, you need to send the get refresh token request to Trelix before the current access token expires. This will extend the access for up to another 2 hours to the API integrators or app developer who program the software to communicate with Trellix. We recommend issuing a get refresh token call just before the end of each 120-minute window to ensure continuous access to Trellix. So here, recommend sending another get refresh token here and there and there. So on Postman, this is what the course looks like. So if I send this get refresh token, this is what I will get. As you can see, if you compare the two calls between get login token, notice that the access token is different between the two calls. But if you look at the refresh token, it's the same. Now that we have access to Trellix, we can test a few API calls as demonstration. The first call that we want to test is send scene to specific area. In the body of the call, you will need to provide the public area ID and the public scene ID. To get those information, you have to go back to the Excel spreadsheet that we have exported from Trellix to find out which area we want to control first. Let's say that that's Office 101 that we want to control. Then we know the corresponding area ID is A49. So we can just filter out a spreadsheet by area A49. Now that we know the area ID, we need to know what scene we want to call from Postman. So let's say we want to call scene number 6. The corresponding public ID for scene 6 is S642. So we need to enter that information into the body of the API call. And the area ID is A49. Now, if I turn on the video, right now the light is off for Office 101. Now, if I click on the send command, you should see the light turn on. There you go. If you want to turn off Office 101, we can just look for the scene ID for scene 0, which is 646. Enter that value here and send the command. Now the light turned off. What if we want to send a level command to a specific zone? First, we need to click on body, and the ID that we need is the zone ID for the zone that we want to control. And we need to go back to the Excel spreadsheet. Let's say we want to control Office 102 instead of 101. We can filter this out. Look for Office 102, which is area public ID A50. Now, we want to control the zone 1 of Office 102, and the zone ID here is Z147. So we need to enter that ID into the body of the call. Next, we need to specify what light level we want to send to Office 102. Okay, so I'm going to put in 10%. And if I turn on the video and click on the send button, there you go. Zone 1 in Office 102 just turn on, and to turn it off, just enter 0 for the level, and you should be able to turn it off. You can also send level to specific floor. And in order to do that, we just need to know the building ID and the floor ID. Okay, so we go back to the Excel spreadsheet again. we know that building ID is B1 and floor ID is F1. So we just need to enter it here in the body of the call. Now we need to specify what level that we want the light for the entire floor to go on. If I do 5%, click send. Now the light turn on. This is for the entire floor, which contain both Office 101 and Office 102. We can do similar thing to another call that send level to the specific building. Okay. So to do that, we need to know the building ID, which we know that in this setup, building ID is B1. And right now the light is on, so I'm going to tell the light to turn off to level 0 by clicking on the send button here. Now the light goes off. We can also acknowledge all the alarms. Okay, so if I log into Trellix right now, I see that there are 6 alarms. Even in the lighting application, there are 6 active alarms. And we can clear this alarm, acknowledge them by sending the call for acknowledge all the alarms. Click on the send button. Now, if I go back to Trellix, I should see that the alarm disappear. As you can see in the Postman, all the post actions are for you to send override commands to Trellix, while all the get action are for you to read data from Trellix. For example, we can send a call, let's say, get all area identity lists. If I click on the send command here, the response come back with all the area name, which include Office 101, Office 102, and construction area. Similar thing, we can call get all floor identity lists here. And if I click on the send command, it returns with the name floor 1. Now, going back to the top, you can also activate demand response with API calls to Trellix. But first, you need to log in as a demand response user before you can activate demand response. To do that, we have to click on this command here, API call for get demand response access token, and then click on the send command. Notice the username, default username and password, demand response. Click on send. Now we can activate demand response. I go to the next call here, that activate demand response. Under the body, the variable we need to change is active signal level. Right now is 0 because demand response is not active. So let me turn on the entire floor to 100%, and I'm going to activate demand response. Now, as you can see, the light is very bright. If I go back to the demand response call and change the value from 0 to 1, you will see the light will start dimming down according to the demand response level that we programmed from WaveLinx wireless. There you go. Now demand response is active. To cancel demand response, change the value from 1 to 0 and click on the send button. Let's go over a few frequently asked questions during the setup of API. First question is, why am I unable to send the get login token call to Trellix? Make sure that the right username and password for an API user has been used in the request. And make sure the IP address of Trellix server is updated in the selected environment setting on Postman. Normally, this IP address is different for each job. If you see an error message below that say disable SSL verification, please go to settings on Postman to turn that off. Why am I getting the error message below after sending the get login token request to Trellix? The message say access denied, invalid username or password. This error message is occasionally seen by the API integrator or app developer when trying to communicate with Trellix via the software. This error happens if the third-party software keeps logging into Trellix more than 10 times repetitively within the 2-hour duration. This is a built-in feature for Trellix to prevent the user's credentials from being compromised after more than 10 concurrent sessions have been attempted. And here's how to get rid of this error. The API integrator or apps developer needs to fix the programming in their software to stop sending the get login token request multiple times to Trellix within the 2 hours duration. And next, send the logout request to Trellix. Then log in again by sending the get login token call. Why am I getting the error message below and unable to send override command to Trellix via API request? The message say the list contains objects that user does not have access to the object requested. So make sure the correct areas of responsibility, such as areas, floors, or buildings, have been assigned to the user when the user account was created on Trellix admin. Why am I unable to acknowledge any alarm via API request? This is similar to the question above. You just need to make sure the correct areas of responsibility, like areas, floors, or building, have been assigned to the user when the user account was created on Trellix admin. Will existing public IDs change when new devices, zones, areas, floors, or buildings are added to Trellix? The answer is no. Existing public IDs remain the same. The additional devices, zones, areas, floors, or buildings will be assigned with their own unique public IDs. What is the best practice for setting up API integration with Trellix? Make sure all the devices, zones, areas, floors, or buildings have been set up and fully commissioned before enabling the publish API interface on Trellix. This will eliminate the need for third-party API integrator or app developers to revisit the site multiple times to remap their software. This is the end of the video. I hope you find it helpful and thank you very much for watching.